So the young lady that thankfully was concerned about my iron level, so I ordered an iron test from Life Extension. She also brought up a very important fact. Some of the concepts that I've come up with to deal with housing issues in Bucks County and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania are already being utilized by people in Texas and around the country. It seems to help, well, no, it's in Texas, I'm sorry, to deal with the disparity that is present in this country. So there's the truck, this is called Mobile Loaves and Fishes Serving Goodness. So we have Mobile Loaves and Fishes food truck volunteers hit the streets 7 nights a week, 365 days a year to serve the homeless. Now this is very interesting. This is called Community First Village, a place to call home. A Community First Village is a 51-acre master planned community that provides affordable permanent housing and a supportive community for the disabled chronically homeless in Central Texas. Since 2005, this transformative residential program has been a staple of Mobile Loaves and Fishes and has become the largest community-based mobile model in the country, lifting homeless men and women up off the streets into the community. This is another thing they do. Community Works provides micro-enterprise opportunities to enable men and women who are coming out of chronic homelessness to use their God-given talents to earn dignified income. In addition, the program empowers Mobile Loaves and Fishes volunteers to serve alongside and build enduring relationships. So this is Mobile Loaves and Fishes. This is their YouTube channel. This is the different playlists. So this is Danny's, it goes through the different people, the volunteers, Community Works, okay, everything that they do. Now this is proactively being done not by Austin, Texas, but by Mobile Loaves and Fishes. So this is the Mobile Loaves and Fishes website, and this covers the whole Mobile Loaves and Fishes breakdown of their community. Features of the Community First Village, Phase 1, 100 RV park homes, 130 micro homes, 5 laundry, restroom, shower facilities, 5 outdoor kitchens, Capital Metro bus stop, Community Cinema, Community Inn, Community Market, Genesis Gardens Organic Farm, so then they have food, Memorial Garden and Prayer Labyrinth, Topfer Family Health Resource Center, walking trails. Now, Phase 2, this is a whole community designed to help the homeless, and it's working. In the fall of 2018, blah, blah, blah. So, Phase 2 of the village will utilize existing infrastructure, but this is actively working, as you can see on the Reason TV link. More ways to experience the community, their YouTube channel, volunteer with them, learn more about the programs. So, this is the Reason TV piece. It's definitely worth watching. And I'm going to skip right to the Austin Community Village here.
Our first stop was the city of Austin, where progressive activism exists in the shadow of a conservative state house. It's a boom and bust town, a magnet for business and tech innovation, which has lured some of Silicon Valley's top performers. When the ultra-rich moved in, housing prices started to resemble San Francisco's, and the homeless population...
Now, this is very similar to what has happened with my area. We had a lot of very wealthy New Yorkers come down and start gobbling up a lot of the land in Langhorne, Holland, the Central Bucks area there. Well, really, it's Lower Bucks, but it's right on the cusp of Central Bucks. And what that did is that jacked up the property prices artificially, and they also started building a lot of McMansions and McTownhomes and crap like that, which are technically eyesores, but it drove up the property value.
Has climbed. Policy-wise, Austin has a lot in common with West Coast cities, which helps explain the huge encampments here. But Austin has an advantage that San Francisco and Los Angeles don't. When you walk over the city line, you're in a more typical Texas municipality, where light touch regulation allows innovative approaches to thrive. The outskirts of Austin are home to Community First Village, a 51-acre community of tiny homes. The project doesn't rely on federal money, and therefore isn't bound by rules imposed by Washington. Alan Graham, who founded Community First Village, attributes homelessness to the lack of a supportive network of friends, family, and neighbors, and seeks to rebuild that network by giving formerly homeless people the opportunity to live in a community again.
Hey, you're the best. The single greatest cause to homelessness is the profound, catastrophic loss of family.
The homes are intentionally designed with large front porches within a walkable community to encourage socialization among neighbors. To live here, residents have to respect the law and follow rules like keeping pets leashed, junk off their driveways, and drug use out of the common areas. But behind closed doors, that's their business.
What we always wanted is for people to live the way that people want to live here in the United States of America. We have an extraordinary number of freedoms. We don't want people coming into our homes, seeing what we do in the privacy of our own homes. What you do there is your biz. And so we tried to create that same environment. But there are three fundamental rules to live here. Rule number one, above all rules, period, end of story, you must pay rent.
The monthly cost for one of these houses is between $240 and $440, depending on the size and amenities, which residents typically pay out of their monthly Social Security or disability benefits.
Prior to COVID, we had a 99% rent collection
deal. On
so,
time?
Close enough.
Yeah.
And it turns out that people that have skin in the game are bought into the game far more than people that don't have skin in the game.
The residents we spoke with agreed.
One thing that I've learned since I've been out here is unconditional love, which I've never had except from my grandmother, who was dead for over 50 years.
Oh, it's still conditional.
Oh, sometimes with certain people, but not with you, Mama.
I can tell you, honestly, this is the most incredible place in the world. People know I listen, I sit down and talk to them. They just want someone to talk to. There are a lot of really broken people here. If you have no one to turn to, if you're financially broke, bankrupt, if you have no family, what can you do but be on the street? And that, he taught me that. And that's why we're here every day, because when people realize we're all good people, they're all good people here. We love you all.
Mobile Loaves and Fishes, Graham's nonprofit, launched Community First Village with about a dozen homes in 2015 and has since expanded to more than 300. The goal is to reach 500 units by the end of this year to meet the growing demand, while also breaking ground on 127 acres across the street and inside Austin, an expansion underwritten by $35 million worth of funds from the federal American Rescue Plan Act that will eventually make way for 1,400 more homes. Community First Village is located just outside of Austin city limits. Graham says it would have been impossible to build it on the other side of the line.
We are blessed with the reality that there is no zoning, no discretionary land use authority outside of a municipal boundary. And that's a big deal, because that is singularly the only tool that NIMBY can sink their teeth into.
NIMBY stands for Not in My Backyard, a term used to describe activists who lobby to block new real estate development. Within Austin city limits, developers have to contend with zoning restrictions and preservation laws, which have made it hard to meet the huge increase in demand caused in part by wealthy professionals fleeing coastal cities. Residents thwarted plans to rewrite the zoning code, which would have allowed more vacant or underutilized properties to be transformed into multifamily housing units, with nearby retail versus such strict business and residential demarcations. A common refrain among urbanists and disgruntled residents is that Austin is like San Francisco in the 90s. Those who migrated to the city and bought houses early stand to gain from the soaring prices, but many others are getting priced out or pushed farther from the city center.
The city of Austin itself, which is probably where the most demand would be, is hyper NIMBY.
Urbanist Scott Beyer has studied the interaction between zoning laws, housing prices, and homelessness. He points out that Austin's suburbs have stayed relatively affordable despite large population growth.
The prices within the city itself are quite high, but then when you get to the more, I'd say mostly northern suburbs that are more liberalized, you're getting a lot lower prices.
Still, many Austinites don't appear to see the relationship between the zoning and land use changes they oppose and the fact that affordability is getting worse and worse. But land use restrictions, especially zoning, shaped the ability of each city we visited to respond to its homelessness problem. Another crucial aspect was the strings attached to government funding. As the operator of a faith-based charity not reliant on federal funding, Graham is free to experiment, including by coming up with cheaper ways to build his tiny homes. Some tiny homes are 3D printed, while others are prefabricated, and still others are bare-bones shacks that don't contain any plumbing and require residents to use shared kitchens and bathrooms.
We, the people, want our government to be risk-free, and as a result of asking them to be risk-free, it lacks innovation. And if you want to do something innovative like this, where you have a home that's got no plumbing inside of it in order to be able to lift people up off the streets, the government can't and doesn't do that because it's so onerous to build housing for people in this country. The cost of a HUD approved housing project in the state of Texas is going to be somewhere between $250,000 and $300,000 per unit.
And how much does it cost you guys?
For these two phases right here, on average, under $80,000 a unit for everything that you see, including this.
Now, mind you, there are already built structures that the county could purchase under that.
Beautiful building that you're sitting in right now.
Federal funding requires that homeless service providers conform to a policy approach called Housing First, which focuses on getting clients into apartments as quickly as possible. Services can then be offered as an option, but they're not stipulated, nor is readiness for independent living assessed. Graham says this approach is limiting.
The federal government, through HUD, has latched on to Housing First as the way into the deal. It's one way, and it's a way, and it's a piece of the puzzle, and it's an important piece of the puzzle, but it can't be the only piece of that puzzle.
But Community First may have its own limitations. The pandemic put extra stress on them as an eviction moratorium made enforcing basic rules more difficult. And one resident told us safety concerns have grown, along with the population of the neighborhood, raising questions about whether or not to hire a security team, which would be costly and could change the entire nature of the community. And although they are quickly scaling up, Community First only serves a fraction of Austin's estimated 4,600 homeless population. The City of Austin's lead homelessness agency accepts HUD money and is therefore subject to the same federal mandates that operators in California are. Most concerning for many Austinites is the growing visibility of the unsheltered homeless population.
And you guys can finish this on your own and read the links in the description. Everything's going to be linked in the description. And that's all for this video.